This is Western Fashion Behind the Scenes, hosted by the Boot Babes. In this podcast, we delve deep into the world of Western fashion, exploring its history, trends, and the people who make it happen. With cowgirls once again taking the spotlight, we bring you stories from the industry's most fascinating characters. Saddle up and join us as we ride into the wild west of fashion. And now here's your host.
Hey, it's Ashley, the Boot Babe, and we are live on Western Fashion Behind the Scenes. I'm so excited because today we have a very special guest. Her name is Kat Cole. She is the producer and founder of Cattle Call Podcast, which has been amazing to watch. Welcome, Kat.
Hello, how are y'all?
I'm so excited that you're here because you've been giving us the inside scoop on so many amazing influencers and entertainers for the last few weeks. Tell me a little bit about how you arrived to the host of the Cattle Call.
My grandfather was a rodeo announcer. So he's always been up in that announcer stand. He was 65 years as a rodeo announcer. Then my dad, he was a county commissioner and he basically in politics. So he had to stand up and be a speaker and talk and be in front of the public. And that's always been my thing too. I think I was shy until about middle school. And then I became a talker and I was always interested in listening to my friends or just what's going on in people's lives, not in a nosy way, wanted to be their friend and confidant and learn about their life and help them. So I've always wanted to do this. And in podcasts, when it became a thing, I was like, that would be really cool. But I never knew when it would be a good time to do it. And things started to fall into place. And then a situation happened. And I was like, right now is probably the best time to start this because people need a voice. And I've been wanting to do this. And then it was like within 30 days, it just all came about.
That's exciting. So share with me a little bit about the journey of who you've had on that has really inspired and touched you and made you think twice about things.
Oh gosh. I think a younger audience of Elva Steinmetz and my daughter Lillian, they're behind the scenes of what life is really as a content creator and how things can look a certain way, but then in reality, what they're living is a completely different story. I think the rodeo athlete like Chesney Woods is she's a rodeo athlete and she was talking about her struggles and things as a college athlete doing everything in college plus being a content creator and being a rodeo athlete. Those taught them sharing their stories in that respect taught me a lot about how much it takes to be part of that world and do it all, and then all the things they face in the middle of that, the backlash, and then you're trying to figure out who you are in your early 20s and things like that. But they have taken it on and pulled up their bootstraps and are doing it. And that takes a lot of grit. I just interviewed, his name's Cameron Payne, and he is a cowboy and a model and a content creator. And we talked a lot about, I'm doing a relationship series, and we talked about relationships. And he shared some stuff recently that people in the public didn't know and why he's kept it to himself and didn't want it out in the public. And it's some secret things to his own life that nobody knows. And that's coming out. But I'm learning and they're teaching me. And I'm also, as they're talking or I'm asking questions, I'm getting like, whoa, I didn't know this. I didn't know this. So they're teaching me a lot about their world. I hope that I'm giving them some things as a mom and as a older woman, some wisdom maybe they can leave and feel good about.
Yes, I love this. I love the aspect that you're a mom. So tell me a little about your mom journey. You have kids and where you're from a little bit so people can get to know you.
I'm from Oklahoma. I have 3 of my biological children. I have 4 children and they're completely 100% mine, but my youngest son, he's 14 now. My husband and I were foster parents for about 8 years, close to 8 years. And we had different foster children in and out of our lives, emergency stays and things like that. But we wanted to adopt and we knew we wanted a boy and just one. We got a call one day that there was a newborn preemie. It looked like it would probably move into adoption. And I said yes. And they go, "Do you need to call your husband?" I was like, "Nope, I'll call him after we're done, but I'm saying yes." And we got him straight out of the hospital at 3 days old. And He's been the biggest blessing in our life. He's taught my kids so many things about sacrifice and love, and that love can look so different. And you couldn't tell me today that he is not 100% a child that I birthed. I feel like we birthed him out of prayer and trusting God, and he's just been a huge blessing for us. So I have 4 kids, 3 boys and a girl.
And how old are they compared to the one? Because now you got me really curious.
My oldest is 31, and then my other son is 28, and then our only daughter is 23, and then Maverick, he's 14 now.
Oh my gosh, you're brave and powerful. You've touched so many people's lives. How fun. No wonder you love podcasting because you get to really hear people's stories. I feel like when people get on
Yeah.
here, like, most people don't know that about you. I would have never known that about you. And it's a powerful testament to people. So, what would you say to people that are going through that journey of adoption? And why did you decide to adopt after you had 3 kids? Can I ask you that? This is really powerful. Let me preface this a little. We just had an episode with a woman who has adoption in her life, and it was really powerful. And she does fancy rancher hats, and she lives in Oklahoma. Her name's Tiffany. I'll hook you up with her.
Okay, please do. My sister-in-law and my sister have not been able to conceive. And when my sister-in-law was going through her journey, I had told her, "Have you thought about adoption?" And of course, that sometimes you have to open your mindset up to think about that if you can't conceive. And of course, I was conceiving and had 3 biological children. A lot of people in my church either was fostering or had adopted children. So that was very prevalent in my circle. It wasn't uncommon. And so when I was talking to her about it, she always wanted children and wanted a lot of them. Today, looking at her story now, she adopted 6 children and she has 2 grandchildren and one or two more on the way. She had all the children that came into her life that she wanted. She had a house full, and I think 3 are grown now and out of the house. There's only a couple left at the house now, but that was a testament to me. But during her journey, we were like, we need to foster. There's a lot of kids that need a good home, and we were looking to foster to adopt. We wanted a couple or at least one child, and then my husband and I, we prayed and got specific with God and was like, we believed it was a boy, that we wanted a boy. We wanted a younger child. We had a sibling group that was a teen, and we just dealt with so much. And she, when she came, wasn't told everything. And then when she came, we fell in love with her and everything, but she was going through so much. And I'm like, I can only help so much. And then it's beyond my scope. We got her in therapy and stuff, but there was so much going on that my other children, it didn't matter. And I had one other foster child. It was like they were having to be on the back burner of life because everything she was dealing with was right up in your face and it was an everyday task. And we loved her and I was trying to stick with her, but there was only so much I could hand her. Got adopted by another lady. And I was like, do we continue to do this? We took a little break in between. And then that's when we got the call about Maverick. And we said yes, because it was a younger boy, of course, newborn. And then he was the only one. It looked like it would go turn into adoption. And so we were like, yes, we'll do that. But my journey of how it all started was basically the people I was surrounded with. And then my sister later in life, after I adopted Maverick, my sister, who was not able to conceive and had tried for many years, she adopted a little boy from Tennessee around the Nashville area. A 15-year-old young girl was not going to keep her baby. And she got to be there and see the birth and everything. And then was with him during Christmas time after his birth, and then ended up, I think about 4 or 5 days later, got to come back to Oklahoma. And then my cousin, years later, he's 4 now. 4 years ago, our first cousin was going to have to put up a child for adoption, or it was going to have to go in foster care. And they called my sister and they called me, and I said, I'm done, guys, I'm done. But they called my sister and she said, I'll take him. And she ended up adopting him. So she has 2 boys. One is actually blood relative, and then the other not. But there are people in our area that is connected to her oldest son. So he does have a couple uncles and I think an aunt or so here in our area. But it's just, I don't know, part of who we are. And I think it's opened my kids' eyes up to adoption and knowing that they've even said, I want to adopt maybe one day as well, because they knew by the example of seeing their brother who needed a home when now he's their brother 100%, that there's a need for it.
Yeah, I think that the testament of it is really strong. The emotions around not having a home and not having a place to go and not feeling loved, not feeling wanted are really powerful. And I think they're very relatable, sadly, to what influencers go through because they feel so alone. And so I feel like both of these things, you have a powerful gift of allowing people to be seen and heard and feel loved. So I'm so grateful that you're on today.
Thank
Fun.
you.
I feel like that's what cowboy boots do. Cowboy boots to me are part of your personality. They allow you to tell a
Yeah.
story and be creative and feel confident. And I know your one daughter is an influencer. And are your
Yes.
kids working in the influencer realm?
No, not so much. My oldest son, he helps me behind the scenes. It's called Parker Cole. He has a media and he can build a website for people and things like that. And he'll help me with my computer work, with editing and stuff like that. But as far as they've always loved it. I threw them on stage when I was like an acting coach for plays and stuff at my church for 8 years. So they were in that world for a long time. I'd throw them into that stuff while I was the drama coach or whatever, but they always was good at it. But no, I think Lillian was my daughter and she asked me one day, I helped other people get agents and stuff out in LA and I was helping a group go out there and get agents and you have to prepare people here that want to go to LA. So I was with a lady that helped me in my early age. And so she asked me to help others. So I was helping others. And then my daughter goes, Mom, I want to do this. Can you get me an agent? And I was like, really? Okay. And then that's how that started for her. And then we were on a television show together. It seemed like everything we did, even if I went to an audition with her very first audition was for the producer was Russell Simmons. And do you know who Russell Simmons is?
No, I don't know who that is. Tell me.
Okay. He is a great big producer out in LA or used to be big time. And he used to do Death Comedy Jams and things like that. He's in the African American community, but he was producing like little shorts for YouTube and funny stories and things. And my daughter had her first audition and I didn't know why they had me come in. They go, well, Mom, can you come in and read with her? Because we need somebody to read off book with her for her to be on camera. Okay. So I did that. And they asked me to push my chair in next to her. And so I was like, why? And they go, we want to sell you two together to do the show together. And so I was like, okay. And I was looking at her like, oh gosh. But she's fine with it because I was her crutch, I guess, or shoulder during that time because that was all new to her. She
How long?
was
Yeah, how long ago was
13.
that? Give a time frame so
Well,
that
she
people
was
listening.
13, so
Okay.
she's 23 now. So that was 10 years ago. And then one thing after another. And then I got a DM from a producer and casting director that was looking for models for this TV show. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. This may be a joke or whatever. I had just opened up my Instagram 2 weeks prior to that. I'd kept it private. And I was like, this is all happening. I don't know if these are creepy people, but it ended up, my best friend had said, at least send out an email. He sent you an email. I want you to communicate with him, see if this is legit. So I did, and it was legit. And about 9 months to that day, we were living in New York and shooting a television show together.
Amazing. What's it called?
I don't even want to say it because it's a reality show. She was 15 years old and I don't think adults need to be in reality TV, but I sure don't think children need to be, especially the way the producers edit stuff. There was so many false narratives throughout the whole thing to create drama that wasn't even existent that we got a big reality check coming from It was on Lifetime and Bravo and E! And it went around the world. It's called Making a Model with Yolanda Hadid. The wonderful thing was Yolanda Hadid, Gigi Hadid, Bella Hadid. We got to meet all them. Lillian was mentored by Gigi and Yolanda. And it was an amazing experience of what in real life lived. The edits that they came out with was a completely different ballgame. Coming from the South, we're very flamboyant with how we speak, and we don't take any bull off of people. And when you live in the South compared to, say, people in New York or Wisconsin or Ohio or California, we're a different breed. And I've lived in California and New York and here, it is completely different how people think about things. I was raised, I was my daddy's boy, I was a tomboy, and my dad, "Oh, are you all right? Okay, brush it off, get up, keep going." Where I feel like in other places, it's super babied, if that makes sense. I don't know how to explain it. People are babied. If they fell down and hurt their knee, the parents are coddling them. They're taking them, rushing them to the emergency room. They're making a huge deal about it. Does that make sense? And we're just more grit about us. It's a different type of strength. And we realize that with so many different people coming in. We're like other girls that was my daughter's age. She is was a very confident girl in who she was and her abilities and things like that and being herself. But then being part of that TV show, it broke her down so much after it came out and how they edited things and made things that weren't what they were. And then we'd go into interviews and they would ask her or give her a script and me one and ask us to say things word for word. And we got to the point we were like, this, I don't know if what they're up to. After you go along for a little bit, you go, what are they doing here? Because these are our words. Or Lily would say, I don't want to say that. That's mean. And they'd go, well, say it, but say it in your own words. How would you say it if you was to say it? And then we realized why, because they would edit things and we didn't know what some people were being filmed in another room. And then they're talking about something and then it switches to an edit and it sounds like we're being mean to that situation or we have an opinion, a strong opinion about something, but maybe we had a strong opinion about something they were asking us about what we lived here. A story, tell us about growing up in Oklahoma or how are you at school? You're modeling and you're doing acting. How are you treated? And Lily may tell that story, but then they cut it and use that to go with something completely different. Does that make sense? People don't realize that reality TV is not real at all. There's some things and what we lived was real. And I was like, if they would have taken the real story of how these girls grew to love each other and hung out with each other and all the hard times of going in and out of this competition and the ups and downs and their journey, it would have been a really beautiful thing. But they didn't. They did it like they would housewives, or they treated these young girls like they were housewives and they highly edited it for dramatic TV.
I think for the last 15 years, that's where we've been at narratively as a culture, and that's why we're where we're at, because
Mm,
somehow we're sold. I'm not, but the majority of the population is sold that the more terror, drama, I would say lower vibrational or lower frequency or lower emotional things, the better and the
mm,
easier to and they're big triggers for people. First of all, I'm
yeah.
sorry, that let's just back up here. What has happened is you have transcended that culture and tried to stay in a narrative where you feel well, you can teach your kids good things. You wake up in the morning and what you know that if you were not to be here anymore, you'd leave a legacy. And it sounds like your daughter really struggled with the things that they did, which any girl would struggle. So I'm sorry that that
Oh, yeah. I think all the girls, when we got I was talking to the other moms, everybody went through a state of depression and was in bed and everything. It was every girl, even when they didn't even look bad. I'm like, you guys' edits were great compared to what we had to do, whatever. Everybody had dealt with so much depression and stuff during it. And I don't think people realize that people on television and people on the internet are real people and they're going through real life struggles and they are going through it behind the scenes, and people don't get the full picture of what's really happening. And that's why I think too, I wanted to do the podcast because I was seeing things that were going on behind the scenes that people didn't are not seeing, to really get a real and raw reality of what this is like, or what is your life like as a rodeo athlete? What is your life like as an influencer in the Western culture? Are you embraced, or are you shunned, or do you feel like you share too much of your life or not enough of your life? It's never enough. I think there's too many trolls. People don't realize that these people are young adults trying to figure out their life. And that goes for all of them, the good, bad, and the ugly. Everybody figure out their life, and everybody has feelings, and you can't get caught up in that even as an audience member watching, or if you're somebody that's actually an influencer, don't get so caught up in all of it to draw an audience in and let them believe your narrative, because you're not really living your authentic life when you do that.
I think that's good advice. And can you give me some examples? You don't have to name names. I can, because I've seen you interview a lot of people. I've listened to several of the podcasts. I can't wait for people to dive in and listen to all the podcasts because some of them are amazing and juicy. But specifically, I know that there's been some talk around different narratives of women, and with some women being very nice to your face and not being very nice to you when you're not around, and who knows what that is about.
Yeah.
That's about insecurity. So if you don't like me, that's your problem, not mine. And in this world, how do we teach people to navigate that and still be able to be in the same room as each other? Tell me about your feelings about all this.
There's so much. I think for one, I did do a little video on my TikTok about, we have to watch as an audience what we say to people, because we baby a lot of people on the internet, and we also bully a lot of people on the internet. We have to watch as an audience member. We don't know what is happening behind the scenes of people's lives. And there's probably numerous people involved in these people's lives. And we don't know everything. It's just them coming on the internet and telling their story. So if we go in as audience, as somebody, as a viewer, and we watch a TikTok and we go, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry you're going through this. This is so sad. What we do is, I think we are helping create monsters, to be honest, like people that aren't being real or authentic. They're wanting to be baby. They're wanting to be victims on the internet. And we have a place in that as viewers and commenters on that. On the other side of the coin, if we see someone and say they're going through something, or say pretending they have a perfect life, and then viewers bully that person, they don't know on the other side of that person may not want to tell everything about their life. Maybe they don't want to be a victim, but you want to bully them because so and so said this, or there's just two completely sides. And I think us as viewers have as much responsibility in what we say to those that we're watching as much as the ones that are on the internet giving content to the viewers. We both have a responsibility, that give and take, and we have to weigh those out. We can't just what they call keyboard warriors, or people, or trolls, where you just write immediately what you think in response to something. We need to think about it for a minute, because this is a tiny little clip of people's lives. But at the end of the day, there's 24 hours, 7 days a week, and there's numerous people in and out of different people's lives behind the scenes that we don't know about. Do we even need to be commenting too much on other people's stuff is really what I'm really.
I think that if you don't have something nice to say, you should keep your trap shut, especially in the social media world. It's really hard to want to put yourself out there. It's even harder when you don't want to be the person who's, oh, everything's wrong in my life, or you understand the drama triangle. There's a very good podcast about the drama triangle of life. And I will link that in this, because it's
Okay.
important to understand that if you're a part of it, then you're part of it, right? You're part of that drama triangle. You're either part of the solution or you're part of the problem. So I like to
Right.
classify people, and I don't do it in a judging way. I do it in a way that I'm aware. If I know that person likes to be part of problems, I try to avoid that person. And I think that's what we're getting at here. Being part of a solution means working together and understanding that everybody has their place here. There's enough room for everyone to express who they are, be who they are, be different, be interesting, and all have something great to give at the end of the day that you could learn from, right? I believe
Yeah.
you can learn something
Yeah.
from everyone. And I believe a lot of people are going to learn something from this podcast. So I'm excited. We're going to go for today, but it sounds like we need to have another podcast and explore some more facets of this industry because I think it's good to let this channel turn on and allow people to hear that it's not okay to bully people. It's not okay to railroad people. It's also not okay to get on the internet every day and tell people how horrible your life is. That's being a monster. That's creating more horrible things in the universe. And I'm
Yeah.
sorry. You can tell it in a creative way where you can share that you were upset, but if you're on it every day saying how horrible your life is and you're buying into that as a person, it's your responsibility both ways to be
Yeah.
aware that you're creating more of whatever you're doing every day. And if you're doing bad things, shame on you. Sounds like what you're saying to me.
Yes. That each of us have that responsibility at the end of the day. And yeah, are we just living for ourselves or are we trying to put something out in the world that's actually trying to help other people in some form or fashion? Or is it just about self? And I think more people need to know if they have an influence in a great way, use it for a greater good. Don't use it for drama and views and or whatever.
I agree. Thanks for
Yeah.
being on today, Kat. I'm so grateful.
Thank you.
Love
Thank you for
having-
appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. This is Ashley at Western Fashion Behind the Scenes, and we have been with Kat Cole today. She is the amazing person behind Cattle Call Podcast. I can't wait for you to dive into that. Thanks for being here. And remember, it's always a good time to wear cowboy boots.
This episode of the Western Fashion Behind the Scenes podcast is sponsored by Jackson Hole Clothing. That's JAXNHULL, a luxury Western couture brand that's designed to elevate your wardrobe and transform your life. As always, if you liked this show, please subscribe and share this with your friends. And go check out our Instagram. We have lots of ways you can win amazing Western fashion pieces. My name is Ashley. I'm the Boot Babe, and you've been listening to Western Fashion Behind the Scenes.
Thank you for listening to Western Fashion Behind the Scenes, hosted by the Boot Babes. If you want to stay up to date with the latest in Western fashion, make sure to subscribe to our show and follow us on social media. We'd love to hear your feedback and suggestions for future episodes, so feel free to reach out. Until next time, keep rocking those cowboy boots.